can't change for each application, and they can't change down the road if you think of another great idea you want to add to this product. Change. And one application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized set of buttons just for it. And what happens if you think of a great idea 6 months from now? You can't run around and add a button to these things. They're already shipped. So what do? It doesn't work because the buttons and the controls can't change. They can't change for each application, and they can't change down the road if you think of another great idea you want to add to this product. Well, how do you solve this? It turns out we have solved it. We solved it in computers 20 years ago. We solved it with a bitmap screen that could display anything we want, put any user interface up, and a pointing device. We solved it with the mouse, right? We solved this problem. So how are we going to take this to a mobile device? Well, what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen. Now, how are we going to communicate this? We don't want to carry around a mouse, right? So what are we going to do? Oh, a stylus, right? We're going to use a stylus. No. No. Who wants a stylus? You have to get them and put them away and you lose them. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. So let's not use a stylus. We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with. We're born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers. We're going to touch this with our fingers. And we have invented a new technology called multi-touch, which is phenomenal. It works like magic. You don't need a stylus. It's far more accurate than any touch display that's ever been shipped. It ignores unintended touches. It's super smart. You can do multi-finger gestures on it. And boy, have we patented it. So, we've been very lucky to have brought a few revolutionary user interfaces to the market in our time. First was the mouse. The second was the click wheel. And now we're going to bring multi-touch to the market. And each of these revolutionary user interfaces has made possible a revolutionary product. The Mac, the iPod, and now the iPhone. So, a revolutionary user interface. We're going to build on top of that with software. Now, software on mobile phones is like baby software. It's not so powerful. And today, we're going to show you a software breakthrough. Software that's at least 5 years ahead of what's on any other phone. Now, how do we do this? Well, we start with a strong foundation. iPhone runs OS 10. Now, why would we want to run such a sophisticated operating system on a mobile device? Well, because it's got everything we need. It's got multitasking. It's got the best networking. It already knows how to power manage. We've been doing this on mobile computers for years. It's got awesome security. And to write apps, it's got everything from Cocoa and the graphics, and it's got core animation built in, and it's got the audio and video that OS X is famous for. It's got all the stuff we want, and it's built right in to iPhone. And that has let us create desktop-class applications and networking, right? Not the crippled stuff that you find on most phones. This is real desktop-class applications. Now, you know, one of the pioneers of our industry, Alan Kay, has had a lot of great quotes throughout the years. And I ran across one of them recently that explains how we look at this, explains why we go about doing things the way we do, because we love software. And here's the quote. People who are really serious about software should make their own hardware. You know? Alan said this 30 years ago. And this is how we feel about it. And so we're bringing breakthrough software to a mobile. Said this 30 years ago. People who are really serious about software should make. make their own hardware. You know, Alan said this 30 years ago, and this is how we feel about it. And so we're bringing breakthrough software to a mobile device for the first time. It's 5 years ahead of anything on any other phone.
Steve Jobs' last words before dying. This is the speech that Steve Jobs delivered on his deathbed, and we all know that a dying man doesn't lie. According to a viral story, Steve Jobs' final comments were about his admiration for his family, not a critique of wealth. He was a billionaire when he died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 56, and these were his final words. I reached the pinnacle of success in the business world. In others' eyes, my life is... When he died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 56, and these were his final words. I reached the pinnacle of success in the business world. In others' eyes, my life is an epitome of success. However, aside from work, I have little joy. In the end, wealth is only a fact of life that I'm accustomed to. At this moment, lying on a sick bed and recalling my whole life, I realize that all the recognition and wealth that I took so much pride in have paled and become meaningless in the face of impending death. You can employ someone to drive the car for you, make money for you, but you cannot have someone to bear the sickness for you. Material things, lost, can be found, but there is one thing that can never be found when it is lost: life. When a person goes into the operating room, he will realize that there is one book that he has yet to finish reading: Book of Healthy Life. Whichever stage in life we are at right now, with time, we will face the day when the curtain comes down. Treasure love for your family, love for your spouse, love for your friends. Treat yourself well, cherish others. As we grow older, and hence wiser, we slowly realize that wearing a $300 or $30 watch, they both tell the same time. Whether we carry a $300 or a $30 wallet or handbag, the amount of money inside is the same. Whether we drive a $150,000 car or a $30,000 car, the road and distance is the same, and we get to the same destination. Whether we drink a bottle of $300 or $10 wine, the hangover is the same. Whether the house we live in is 300 or 3,000 square feet, loneliness is the same. You will realize your true inner happiness does not come from the material things of this world. Whether you fly first or economy class, if the plane goes down, you go down with it. Therefore, I hope you realize when you have mates, buddies and all friends, brothers and sisters, who you chat with, laugh with, talk with, have sing-songs with, talk about north, south, east, west or heaven and earth, that is true happiness. 5 undeniable facts of life. 1. Don't educate your children to be rich. Educate them to be happy. So when they grow up, they will know the value of things, not the price. 2. Best awarded words in London. Eat your food as your medicines. Otherwise, you have to eat medicines as your food. 3. The one who loves you will never leave you for another, because even if there are 100 reasons to give up, he or she will find one reason to hold on. 4. There is a big difference between a human being and being human. Only a few really understand it. 5. You are loved when you are born. You will be loved when you die. In between, you have to manage. Note: if you just want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together. 6 best doctors in the world. 1. Sunlight. 2. Rest. 3. Exercise. 4. Diet. 5. Self-confidence. And 6. Friends. Maintain them in all stages of life and enjoy a healthy life. Conclusion. Steve Jobs' final words are nothing but remarkable. It is true that money cannot buy happiness. The wealth comes from within yourself, from how happy you are. He was one of the richest and the wealthiest persons on earth, who did not mock wealth, but mentioned the true meaning of life and happiness while he was on his deathbed. The speech is a takeaway for everyone who wishes to be wealthy and happy. It also contains 5 undeniable facts which encapsulate advice about how to go on with life.
There, there needs to be someone who is sort of the keeper and reiterator of the
स्टीव जॉब्स ना कोडिंग में मास्टर थे ना इंजीनियरिंग में, फिर भी दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी गैजेट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी एप्पल का नाम सुनते ही इस बंदे की तस्वीर सामने आ जाती है। ऐसा क्यों? क्योंकि डिजाइनर से डिजाइन रेडी होने से पहले इस बंदे के दिमाग में उस डिवाइस का डिजाइन रेडी होता था, एंड दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ हिज विजन। वो जानते थे कि उन्हें क्या बनाना है, कैसे बनाना है उसके लिए कई सारे लोग मिल जाएंगे, लेकिन क्या बनाना है ये कोई विजनरी बंदा ही सोच सकता है। अब ये विजनरी का मतलब क्या होता है? इसका मतलब होता है आने वाले फ्यूचर को प्रेडिक्ट करना, और हर एक विजनरी लीडर फर्स्ट मूवर बन के इसका फायदा उठाता है। इस दुनिया में इनोवेशन करने वाला हर एक बंदा विजनरी है, वरना कौन सोचता है मार्स पे जाना है या अर्थ के ऑर्बिट में सैटेलाइट लॉन्च करके इंटरनेट प्रोवाइड करना है। ऐसा कोई विजनरी बंदा ही कर सकता है, क्योंकि ये लोग जानते हैं कि फ्यूचर क्या होगा, कौन सी चीज़ों का रिक्वायरमेंट होगा, लाइफस्टाइल कैसी होगी, और इसी फ्यूचरिस्टिक थिंकिंग के साथ ये लोग काम करते हैं। क्योंकि कोई भी चीज़ इस दुनिया में दो बार बनती है, पहले तो उस बंदे के दिमाग में, उसके इमेजिनेशन में, और फिर रियलिटी में। ऑलरेडी बनी हुई चीज़ों को और बेहतर बनाना आसान है, पर किसी भी चीज़
Tumia basi hizo namba, tumia basi hizo namba dada, tumia basi namba. Naam. Nasemaje? Unataka kufanyaje? ODK. Naipata, nakwambia no network. Una bando? Itakuwa imeshaisha hiyo mtandao gani? Itakuwa imeshaimpiga wapi? Itakuwa imeisha. Hebu nakwambia no network. Ni Halotel. Hebu zima simu yako afu uwashe tena. Umetoka kuweka hiyo vocha sasa hivi. Vocha umeweka. Hasa vocha ina muda gani umeiweka? Vocha ina muda gani umeiweka? Muda gani? Saa ngapi? Zima simu yako afu iwashe tena. Izime simu yako na kisha iwashe. Na hizo namba nitumie. Hizo namba. Haya.
को जीरो से डेवलप करना मुश्किल है, बिकॉज इसके लिए विजन चाहिए होता है और हर कोई विजनरी नहीं होता, पर यह क्वालिटी डेवलप की जा सकती है। हम देखते हैं कि कुछ लोग बिना रुके बिना थके दिन रात अपने सपनों के लिए काम करते हैं। ऐसी कौन सी वो चीज है जो हर वक्त इन्हें एनर्जेटिक रखती है, मोटिवेट करती है? एंड आंसर इज देयर विजन। वो जहां पहुंचना चाहते हैं उसकी तस्वीर 24 घंटा इनकी आंखों के सामने होती है, और यही तस्वीर उनके अंदर उस आग को, उस पागलपन को तैयार करती है जो कि दिन रात काम करने पर इन्हें मजबूर कर देती है। और आप खुद भी इसे फील कर सकते हो। कैसे? बहुत ध्यान से सुनना। अपने दिमाग में एक तस्वीर बना लेना जहां भी आप पहुंचना चाहते हो, चाहे फिर वो कोई बिजनेस में हो सकता है, क्रिकेट में हो सकता है, एक्टिंग में हो सकता है, या किसी मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी में जाना हो सकता है, या फिर कोई ऐसी चीज जो हर हाल में आपको चाहिए, चाहे वो कोई कार हो सकती है, कोई बंगलो हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है। और अब बस आंखें बंद करके ये इमेजिन करना है कि ये सब आपने अचीव कर लिया है। फील करो इसे, और इस टेक्निक को हर उस जगह पर यूज करना जहां तुम्हें लगे कि तुम्हें गिव अप कर देना चाहिए। आई एम श्योर इट विल बूस्ट योर एनर्जी। अब हम ये समझते हैं कि किसी भी चीज में या जिंदगी में भी विजन होना क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है। अभी जो एग्जाम्पल देने वाला हूं उससे आप 100% रिलेट कर पाओगे। बहुत ध्यान से सुनना। किसी भी काम में हम एक टाइम के बाद बोर होने लगते हैं और अपने काम से भटकने लगते हैं। हमें उस काम के सिवाय बाकी सब चीजें अच्छी लगती है, पर अगर आपका विजन आपको क्लियर है, आप वो काम क्यों कर रहे हैं या आपको पता है, तो आप कभी भी आपके काम से भटकोगे नहीं। इनकेस भटक भी गए तो भी आपका विजन आपको वापस उस जगह पर लाकर खड़ा कर देगा। और इसीलिए मोस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज अपने विजन मिशन स्टेटमेंट्स बनाती है। तो अगर विजन डिसाइड करने से इतनी बड़ी बड़ी चीजें होती है, तो क्या सिर्फ विजन डिसाइड करने से काम बन जाएगा? नहीं, क्योंकि दोस्तों सक्सेस एक ऐसी रेसिपी है जिसमें हर एक कंपोनेंट अगर सही प्रोपोर्शन में हो तभी फाइनल आउटपुट अचीव होगा। मतलब ये कि अगर आप सिर्फ हार्डवर्क करोगे, सिर्फ स्किल इंप्रूव करोगे या सिर्फ विजन रखोगे तो रिजल्ट्स नहीं मिलेंगे। उसके लिए इनमें से हर एक चीज का होना जरूरी है। कहते हैं अ लीडर विदाउट अ विजन इज अ फॉलोअर। कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या कोई भी एम्पायर बिना विजन के कहीं नहीं पहुंच सकता, यहां तक कि सर्वाइव तक नहीं कर सकता। और हर एक लीडर का काम होता है अपने विजन के साथ अपने टीम को इनलाइन करना, ताकि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के सक्सेस के लिए वो बेस्ट पॉसिबल रिजल्ट्स डिलीवर कर सके। दोस्तों, विजन एक डेस्टिनेशन है, यानी आपको कहां जाना है, कहां पर पहुंचना है उसका पता। और इस दुनिया में 90% लोगों को कल क्या करना है इसका पता नहीं होता, तो विजन की तो बात ही छोड़ दो। ऐसी सिचुएशन में ये जिंदगी को नहीं, जिंदगी इन्हें चलाती है। दोस्तों, ऐसा नहीं है कि विजन सिर्फ जिंदगी के बारे में हो ना, बल्कि आप जो भी काम कर रहे हो अपने डे टू डे लाइफ में, उसके बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए कि आप वो क्यों कर रहे हो। जब किसी भी काम में विजन के हिसाब से एक्शंस लिए जाएंगे, तब वो काम 10 गुना बेहतर और वेल ऑर्गेनाइज तरीके से होगा। आपका विजन क्या है? कमेंट में जरूर शेयर करना। मैं हूं आपका द विल पावर स्टार। मिलते हैं अगले वीडियो में। बाय बाय।
I don't think there's anyone who could quite fill that void. But of course, Steve has put together an incredible team, and there's such a concentration of talent at Apple. It will continue to do great things for many years to come.
Something that Steve Jobs was that I think was quite admirable was he was ultra product focused, like down to the little details, and he and the other people at Apple would really try hard to have these, both at a high level and a small level, these delightful things happen. So it just that the product was it just made you happy.
Jobs was obviously very good with aesthetics, and he understood technology, of course, and he really understood what people wanted even when they didn't know themselves. Well, he's certainly someone I've admired. Well, I did try to talk to him once at a party, and he was super rude to me. But I don't think it was me. I think it was sort of off the course.
I think you weren't the first.
Yeah, not the first. No. Yeah, and I was actually there with like Larry Page is an old friend of mine. I've known Larry since before he got venture funding for Google, and Larry was the guy that introduced me to Steve Jobs. So it's not as like I'm going like and tugging on his coat, like, please talk to me. But so I was introduced by Larry Page. It's not bad. So, I mean, he obviously was an incredible guy and made fantastic products. And I don't know, there was like a certain
the guy had a certain magic about him, you know, just sort of, that was really inspiring. So, I mean, I think that's really great.
Is there that magic that you try and emulate?
No, I think Steve Jobs is way cooler than I am, so.
I mean, he meant an incredible amount to. I mean, he must have affected directly the lives of over 1 billion people, and made the world a better place for them in so many different ways. When it comes to obviously consumer electronics, music, entertainment of all kinds, with Pixar. The world is certainly a slightly worse place for his passing. It's for them in so many different ways. When it comes to obviously consumer electronics, music, entertainment of all kinds, with Pixar. The world is certainly a slightly worse place for his passing.
In August 2018, as its stock hit the $200 mark, Apple became the first $1 trillion US company in history. Welcome to our animated show of history. This episode presents to you the history of the world's first trillion-dollar company. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in April 1976. Stephen Paul Jobs was born to Abdul Fattah Jandali and Joanne Schiebel on February 24, 1955 in San Francisco, but then was adopted by Paul Jobs and Claire Hagopian, a Bay Area blue-collar couple whom Jobs is extremely grateful to and always considers as his parents 1,000%. By the time he was 10, Jobs was deeply involved in electronics and befriended many of the engineers in the neighborhood. While studying at Monte Loma Elementary School in Mountain View, Jobs hardly made any friends and was frequently bullied that he considered dropping out of school. When he was 13, Jobs was given a summer job by Bill Hewlett. He then entered Homestead High School with Bill Fernandez, a fellow electronics hobbyist. They decided to enroll in John McCollum's Electronics 1. McCollum and the rebellious Jobs would eventually clash, and Jobs began to lose interest in the class. Jobs and Steve Wozniak were introduced in 1971 by a mutual friend. The two Steves got along thanks to their shared love of technology. The two Steves attended the Homebrew Computer Club together, a computer hobbyist group in California's Menlo Park. Woz produced the first computer with a typewriter-like keyboard and the ability to connect to a regular TV as a screen. The computer was later christened the Apple I, which was the archetype of every modern computer. Jobs saw Woz's computer, recognized its brilliance, and sold his VW microbus to help fund its production. Wozniak sold his HP calculator, and together they founded Apple Computer Inc. on the 1st of April 1976, alongside Ronald Wayne. Jobs convinced him to take 10% of the company's stock and act as an arbiter should he and Woz come to blows. But Wayne backed out 12 days later, selling for just $500, a holding that would have been worth $72 billion 40 years later. Apple's very first logo was drawn by Ronald Wayne, depicting Isaac Newton under an apple tree. After that, the Apple logo was designed again with the rainbow scheme. It was used for 22 years until Steve Jobs had asserted the Apple logo after he returned from Apple Farm. A year after foundation, the Apple II was released. It was a much more commercial product and came with it. Its own case. It had a MOS technology processor running at just 1 megahertz with 4 kilobytes of RAM and was one of the 3 1977 Trinity computers generally credited with creating the home computer market. The Apple III was designed to take on the business environment that was released on May 1980. Because of lacking the cooling fan as Jobs wished to, the company had to recall thousands of Apple III. On December 12, 1980, Apple launched the IPO of its stock. It instantly created more millionaires, about 300, than any company in history. The Apple I, II, and III computers were text-based machines, much like the earliest IBM PCs. But Jobs wanted something more intuitive. So the Lisa launched in 1983 with its graphical user interface in place. The Macintosh debuted the following year. Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985 after a long power struggle with the company's board and its then CEO, John Sculley. Jobs then took a few of Apple's members with him to found Next, that specialized in computers for higher education and business markets. Apple purchased Steve Jobs' company Next in 1996. This would not only bring Steve Jobs back to Apple's management, but Next technology would become the foundation of the Mac OS X operating system. In 1997, Jobs stepped in as the CEO to begin a critical restructuring of the company. At the 1997 Mac World Expo, Steve Jobs announced that Apple would be entering into a partnership with Microsoft. Included in this was a 5-year commitment from Microsoft to release Microsoft Office for Macintosh, as well as a $150 million investment in Apple. While discontinuing Apple's licensing of its operating system to third-party computer manufacturers, one of Jobs' first moves was to develop the iMac, a family of all-in-one Macintosh desktop computers. In 1998, the first iMac was released. At that time, Apple had suffered a series of setbacks as consumers increasingly opted for Wintel, Windows PCs, machines instead of Apple's Performa models. The iPod was released in late 2001. The iPod line came from Apple's Digital Hub category, when the company began creating software for the growing market of personal digital devices. 3 years later, the iTunes Music Store was launched, with 2 million downloads in the first 16 days. The first version of the iPhone became publicly available on June 29, 2007 in selected countries. While it wasn't the first smartphone, it leapfrogged far beyond the competition and launched the mobile revolution. The MacBook Air, released in 2008, was the biggest change in Apple's laptop line for years, and invented a whole new category of computers called Ultrabooks. In August 2011, Jobs died of respiratory arrest related to the pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor. Apple then bought Beats, which made headphones and ran a music service, for $3 billion in 2014. A year later, Apple released Apple Watch. So far, Apple has released 11 generations of iPhone, along with several versions of iPad. The iPhone is one of the most widely used smartphones in the world, and its success has been credited with helping Apple become one of the world's most valuable publicly traded companies. So, are you using an iPhone? Please tell us in the comments. Also, check out our other animated history shows. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
The thing I would say is,
Kwa wakati huu nikiwa nimelala kitandani nikiwa mgonjwa, nikikumbuka maisha yangu ya PhD. Shiebo pia alikuwa mwanafunzi lakini wa ngazi za chini kuliko Abdul Fattah, na hapo ndipo uhusiano wao wa kimapenzi ulipoanzia. Hata hivyo, uhusiano huo wa kimapenzi Machinex, yani mbobezi wa mashine za aina zote, na mnamo mwaka darasani haikuwa ikiendana na fedha zilizokuwa zinalipwa na wazazi wake, hivyo akaamua kuwapunguzia gharama wazazi. Huyu ni Steve wa ajabu, kwa kuwa hakutaka wazazi wake wajue kwamba ameacha chuo. Kwa msaada wa rafiki yake wa kike aliyekuwa anafahamika kwa jina la Christian Brennan, alipata hifadhi kwenye nyumba ya wazazi wa binti huyo bila wazazi wao kujua kwamba walikuwa na uhusiano wa kimapenzi. Baadaye Jobs aliamua kurudi kwa wazazi wake na kuwaeleza ukweli kwamba alikuwa ameacha chuo na akaanza harakati za kutafuta kazi. Hiyo ilikuwa Februari mwaka wa kielektronic. Hata hivyo alisoma yani HP. Ni katika kipindi hicho pia alipoanza kujichanganya na marafiki wachache waliokuwa wakijifunza masuala ya vifaa ya kielektronic buku la kampuni ya Apple ilipoanzia. Na mnamo mwaka 2013 nyumba yao hiyo ilipewa hadhi ya makumbusho ya kihistoria, ikatajwa kwamba ndiyo chimbuko la Steve Jobs. Na hii ndiyo safari ya maisha yake. Safari ya maisha yake iliendelea akiwa na umri wa miaka 13 pekee. Mwaka 1968 alipata ajira wakati wa likizo ya masomo. Akawa anafanya kazi katika kampuni ya Bill Hewlett, ambayo ni tawi la kampuni ya utengenezaji wa kompyuta ya Hewlett Packard, yani HP. Ni katika kipindi hicho pia alipoanza kujichanganya na marafiki wachache waliokuwa wakijifunza masuala ya vifaa ya kielektronic. Msingi aliokuwa nao kutokana na ufundi wa baba yake ukamfanya awe na uelewa mkubwa kuhusu vifaa mbalimbali vya kielektronic. Na baadaye alijiunga na chuo cha Reed, Portland, Oregon. Hiyo ilikuwa Septemba 1972, na japokuwa ada katika chuo hicho ilikuwa kubwa kuliko uwezo wa wazazi wake, lakini bado aling'ang'ania akasome. Na baadaye akapata marafiki wapya, yani Bill Fernandez pamoja na Steve Wozniak, ambao wote walikuwa na mapenzi makubwa kwenye masuala ya vifaa vya kielektronic. Hata hivyo, alisoma chuoni hapo kwa muhula mmoja pekee. Baadaye akaachana na masomo bila kuwaeleza wazazi wake, ambapo katika mahojiano baadaye alisema aliona elimu aliyokuwa akiipata darasani haikuwa ikiendana na fedha zilizokuwa zinalipwa na wazazi wake. Hivyo akaamua kuwapunguzia gharama wazazi. Huyu ni Steve wa ajabu, kwa kuwa hakutaka wazazi wake wajue kwamba ameacha chuo. Kwa msaada wa rafiki yake wa kike aliyekuwa anafahamika kwa jina la Christian Brennan, alipata hifadhi kwenye nyumba ya wazazi wa binti huyo bila wazazi wao kujua kwamba walikuwa na uhusiano wa kimapenzi. Baadaye Jobs aliamua kurudi kwa wazazi wake na kuwaeleza ukweli kwamba alikuwa ameacha chuo na akaanza harakati za kutafuta kazi. Hiyo ilikuwa Februari mwaka 1974. Na baada ya mambo yote kutokea, lakini bado safari ya Jobs ilizidi kupamba moto. Kwa mara nyingine, Jobs alifanikiwa kupata kazi katika kampuni ya Atari Incorporation iliyokuwa na ofisi zake katika mji wa Los Gatos, California, ambako alipewa kazi kama technician au fundi mitambo. Namna alivyopata kazi ilikuwa ni magumashi matupu, kwani mnamo mwaka 1973 rafiki yake mkubwa aliyekuwa anafahamika kwa jina la Steve Wozniak alidesign video game aliyoipa jina la Pong. Sasa wakati Jobs anatafuta kazi, aliamua kudanganya kwamba yeye ndiye designer wa video game hiyo, na ndiyo maana akapata kazi ya Atari. Jamaa alijiongeza kwelikweli. Hata hivyo, licha kuingia kimagumashi kwenye kampuni hiyo, uwezo wake mkubwa ulijionyesha waziwazi na akawa miongoni mwa wafanyakazi wa kutegemewa sana. Mshahara aliyokuwa akiupokea alikuwa akitumia kidogo, na asilimia kubwa alikuwa akihifadhi kwa ajili ya safari yake ya kwenda India, ambako alipanga kwenda kuonana na Neem Karoli Baba. Na bila kutegemea, katikati ya mwaka huo huo wa 1974 hatimaye alisafiri kwenda hadi India akiwa ameongozana na Daniel Kotke, mmoja kati ya marafiki zake wa karibu mno, na lengo la kwenda nchini India ilikuwa ni kujifunza masuala ya kiroho, yani spiritual enlightenment, ambayo mwenyewe aliamini anaweza kuja kumfanya kuwa mbunifu mkubwa duniani. Hata hivyo, kwa bahati mbaya, kipindi anawasili nchini India, kiongozi huyo mkubwa wa kiimani tayari alikuwa amefariki dunia. Hiyo ilikuwa Septemba 1973. Hawakutaka safari yao iwe ya bure, wakawa wanaendelea kusafiri sehemu moja hadi nyingine ndani ya nchi ya India ili kujifunza mambo mengine mbalimbali, ikiwemo ufundi wa vifaa mbalimbali vya kielektronic na imani za Kibudha. Na miezi 7 baadaye walirejea nchini Marekani, Jobs akiwa amebadilisha kabisa mwonekano wake, akiwa amenyoa nywele zote na kuvaa mavazi ya Kihindi. Inaelezwa kwamba ni katika kipindi hicho ndipo alipoanza kujihusisha na mambo ya kiimani ya Kibudha kama meditation katika kituo cha mabudha cha Tasajara Zen Mountain Center. Na katika kipindi chote cha maisha yake aliendelea kuwa na masuala hayo ya kiimani. Na baada ya kurejea tena Atari, Jobs alipewa kazi ya kutengeneza video game nyingine iliyokuwa na kwenda kwa jina la Breakout. Kwa kuwa hakuwa na ujuzi wa kutosha kuhusu utengenezaji wa video game, ilibidi arudi tena kwa Wozniak, na wakala njama ya kwamba washirikiane kwenye kazi hiyo, kisha watagawana dau la dola kibao za Kimarekani zilizokuwa zimetangazwa na Atari. Kazi hiyo ilifanyika kwa ufanisi mkubwa, lakini kwa mara nyingine Jobs akamfanyia magumashi Wozniak. Akamdanganya kwamba amelipwa dola za Kimarekani 700, wakati kiuhalisia jamaa alikuwa amekunja mkonja mrefu wa dola 5,000 za Kimarekani. Na ndio maana wabongo hawataki ushikaji kwenye kazi na pesa. Ona sasa, Wozniak hakugundua magumashi hayo. Wakagawana zile dola 700, kila mmoja akapata dola 350. Ni fedha hizo ndizo Jobs alikuja kuzitumia kuanzisha kampuni ya Apple. Na hata miaka 10 baadaye, Wozniak alipokuja kugundua, Jobs ambaye sasa alikuwa akifanya naye kazi kwenye kampuni yake aliyoianzisha, alimweleza ukweli wote ya kwamba alimdanganya kwa sababu alikuwa akizihitaji fedha hizo ili tu kuanzisha kampuni, jambo ambalo alihisi angemwambia kwa kipindi kile angekataa. Jamaa alikuwa na mieyusho fulani, lakini ndio hivyo maisha alienda. Kwa kuwa sasa kampuni ilikuwa imesimama ikizalisha fedha nyingi, huku Wozniak naye akiwa miongoni mwa wakurugenzi, hakuwa na cha kufanya zaidi ya kumpongeza rafiki yake huyo kwa kumfanyia utapeli uliozalisha mamilioni ya fedha. Na kwa jitihada nyingi baadaye kampuni ya Apple ikazaliwa. Kwa kutumia fedha hizo alizozipata kimagumashi, Jobs alimshauri Wozniak waanzishe kampuni ya utengenezaji wa kompyuta pamoja na vifaa vyake vingine. Wakamshirikisha na rafiki yao mwingine ambaye naye alikuwa pia amebobea kwenye masuala ya kielektronic, alikuwa anafahamika kwa jina la Ronald Wine. Wakaanza kwanza kutengeneza kompyuta ya kwanza walioipa jina la Apple I, kazi ambayo ilikuwa ikifanyikia chumbani kwa Jobs alikokuwa akiishi na wazazi wake. Na baada ya hilo kufanikiwa, hatimaye walianzisha kampuni ya Apple Computer Company ambayo sasa inafahamika kwa jina la Apple Inc. Hiyo ilikuwa April 1 mwaka 1976, huku ofisi za kampuni hiyo bado zikiendelea kuwa chumbani kwa Jobs. Na baadaye wakahamia kwenye karakana ya baba yake, maeneo ya hapo hapo chumbani kwa wazazi wake. Na baadaye Wine alijitoa na kuwaacha Jobs pamoja na Wozniak wakiendelea na kampuni yao. Baadaye tena walipata mshirika wa kibiashara alikuwa akifahamika kwa jina la Paul Terrell, ambaye alinunua kompyuta 200 kila moja kwa thamani ya dola za Kimarekani. Kufumba na kufumbua wakajikuta wametengeneza dola za Kimarekani 100,000. Mwaka mmoja baadaye, Aprili 1977, Jobs pamoja na Wozniak walikuwa tayari wamekamilisha utengenezaji wa kompyuta nyingine, yani Apple II, ambayo ilikuwa na maboresho mengi kuliko ile ya awali. Kila aliyepata bahati ya kuiona kompyuta hiyo akawa anapigwa na mshangao na kwa jinsi ilivyokuwa imetengenezwa kwa kutumia akili nyingi, ikiwa na uwezo mkubwa tofauti kabisa na kompyuta za kawaida kwa wakati huo. Ndani ya muda mfupi tu kompyuta hiyo ikavunja rekodi ya kuwa kompyuta bora zaidi kuwahi kugunduliwa. Mauzo yake yakawashangaza hata Jobs pamoja na Wozniak ambao walikuwa ni kama hawaamini. kilichokuwa kinaendelea. Kwani hayo yalikuwa ni kama matunda ya jitihada kubwa alizokuwa wakizifanya. Na mwaka mmoja baadaye, mwaka 1978, Jobs akiwa na umri wa miaka 23 pekee, tayari alikuwa na utajiri wa dola milioni 1 za Kimarekani na akaingia kwenye orodha ya mamilionea. Na kutokana na jinsi alivyoendelea kupiga kasi kwa nguvu zake zote, Miaka miwili tu baadaye, yani mwaka 1980, alikuwa tayari na utajiri wa zaidi ya dola milioni 250. Hivyo akawa miongoni mwa vijana wadogo kabisa kubamba kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa jarida la Forbes, ambalo lilikuwa likichapisha habari za mamilionea duniani kote, akiwa ameanzia kwenye sifuri mpaka kuwa milionea mkubwa. Kama hiyo haitoshi, kompyuta yao ya Apple II ilishinda kuwa mashine bora ya mwaka, huko yeye na Wozniak pia wakashinda tuzo ya wanasayansi bora wa mwaka 1983. Hiyo ilikuwa inatolewa na gazeti la Time. Na sasa ni katika ulimwengu wa mafanikio. Jobs na Wozniak hawakulewa mafanikio. Waliendelea kuumiza vichwa kutengeneza kompyuta ndogo zaidi, lakini zenye uwezo mkubwa zaidi, huku pia wakitumia akili kubwa kugundua vifaa vingine kama simu za iPhone, iPad, iPod pamoja na kadhalika. Baadaye Wozniak alipata matatizo ya kiafya kwa kile kinachoelezwa kwamba ni majeraha makubwa aliyoyapata kwenye ajali ya ndege. Akalazimika kuachana na kazi hiyo na kumwacha Jobs peke yake. Kadri siku zilivyokuwa zikizidi kusonga mbele, ndivyo Jobs alivyokuwa akizidi kupata mafanikio. Hatimaye akaja kutengeneza kompyuta ya kwanza ya Mac, yani Macintosh. Hata hivyo, kutokana na uhaba wa vifaa vyake na bei kubwa, kompyuta hiyo ilizidiwa mauzo kwa mbali na kompyuta za Dell, na kusababisha Jobs aanze kuyumba kiuchumi. Haikuwa kazi nyepesi kunyanyuka tena kutoka kwenye mdororo wa kiuchumi uliofuatia baada ya Macintosh kuanguka kwenye mauzo. Iliyofikia mahali Jobs akaanza kuuza mali zake binafsi ili tu kufidia madeni yaliyosababishwa na kuyumba kwa biashara. Kitu kimoja ambacho Jobs aliamua kuwekeza nguvu zake ilikuwa ni kwenye maboresho ya kompyuta hiyo. Akaajiri vijana wengi wenye akili nyingi kwa ajili ya kufanya maboresho, kazi ambayo ilichukua miaka kadhaa kabla ya kuja kufanikiwa. Na hatimaye mwaka 1997, baada ya kupitia msoto mkali, Jobs alisimama tena. Macintosh ikaingia tena sokoni ikiwa na maboresho makubwa yaliyoifanya isikamatike tena mpaka leo. Mafanikio makubwa ya Macintosh na historia ya kuanguka hapo nyuma vilimfanya Jobs na timu yake wawe wanabuni matoleo mapya ya Macintosh, kompyuta ya kwanza ya kisasa zaidi duniani. Wakawekeza nguvu pia kwenye utengenezaji wa simu za iPhone. pamoja na iPod na kuanzisha mtandao wa iTunes kwa ajili ya kuuza muziki online. Kuanzia kipindi hicho, Apple haijawahi kupoa. Imeendelea kuwa kampuni namba moja inayotengeneza kompyuta, simu na vifaa vingine kwa ubora wa hali ya juu. Na hichi ndicho chanzo kilichopelekea kifo cha bwana Steve Jobs. Na mnamo Oktoba 2003, Jobs aligundulika kuwa na saratani ya kongosho ambayo kitaalamu huitwa islet cell neuroendocrine tumor. Hali yake ya kiafya ikaanza kuzorota, na licha ya ubishi wake, mnamo mwaka 2009 alilazimika kusimama kwenye majukumu yake kwa muda mrefu ili apate matibabu ya kikamilifu. Nimelala kitandani nikiwa mgonjwa. Lakini kama unataka kutembea na ufike mbali, basi tembea pamoja. Kuacha ujumbe mzito.
imeandaliwa kwako na Azizi Hashim kwa misaada ya mitandao na
Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life.
I'm a college dropout. I was homeless, lived in a car for 3 years. I've lost every single thing I had, family included. I've been written off so many times. But today, the person that you sitting in front of you is a process. I want to talk to you for a moment about the process. Because see, one way to get a person to really follow you is to be the example of what you're trying to get them to follow. You know, my daddy used to tell me all the time, he said, son, best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them, because you can't help the cause. Your brain is divided into 2 halves, positive and negative, good and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side, you got 1 million factory workers on the negative side. At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory. So let me show you how this works. You got a remote control. You go to your house tonight and you press that power button and you press it. When you point it at the TV, what do you expect to happen? You expect TV to come on. You press the power button, you expect the TV to come on. If you want to watch HBO, and HBO is channel 300, and you press 300, and then you press select, what do you expect to come on that TV? And what comes on that TV? So now, since your brain is in 2 halves, let me show you how this works. You wake up in the morning and you say, man, I don't feel myself today. I got up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm not a morning person. Foreman negative hears that. He steps to the front. He said, what did you say? You say, I said I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I'm not myself. I'm not a morning person. He says, you got it right away. He said, hey, the boss just woke up and said he's not a morning person. He's having a bad day today, and he ain't feeling himself. Let's get to work. The 1 million factory workers start producing thoughts to justify what you just said. So now guess what? Man, I hate my alarm clock went off this morning. I got to get out here in this traffic. I'm gonna drive down here today. I don't even like these people on my job. I can't stand this car I'm finna get in this morning. Sure wish I had a new car, but I'm driving this ragged-ass car. And on and on and on. And your day starts tumbling into what you ordered at the top of the day. You could wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? Today is gonna be a great day today. I expect something really good to happen for me today. Man, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning. He said, what did you say? You say, I said I'm having a great day today. I expect something good to happen today. Thank you, Lord, for waking me up. Foreman Positive turns around and goes, all right, let me have your attention. Steve's having a great day today. He's expecting some wonderful things to happen. And man, let's get it going. And they start manufacturing thoughts. Same brain. Man, I can't wait to go to work today. It may not be the job I want, but at least I got a job. I appreciate the fact that I don't have a car, but at least I can walk to the train. Man, this is gonna be great today. That's how your mind works 24/7. It never turns off. You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it. Change your attitude, you change your altitude. I'm gonna tell you something that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. You are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you are waking up thinking that it's a determining factor of where you go in life, we are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it. Change your attitude, you change your altitude. I'm gonna tell you something that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. You are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you are waking up thinking that it's gotta be more to your life than it is, man, believe that it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're gonna have to jump. You see people in life, when you're standing on the cliff of life and you see people soaring by, when you see people soaring, going to exotic places, you hear about them doing wonderful things. Maybe you look up the street and your neighbor just gets a car every year, every 2 years. You know, how is he doing that? Have you ever thought, maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift? Because your Bible says, your Bible says your gift will make room for you. Your gift, not your education. You go get an education, that's nice. But if you don't use your gift, that education only gonna take you so far, man. I know a lot of people got degrees, man, they ain't even using them. It's your gift. But the only way for you to soar is you got to jump. You got to take that gift that's packed away on your back. You got to jump off that cliff and pull that cord. That gift opens up and provides the soar. If you don't ever use it, you're gonna just go to work. And if you're getting up going to work on a job every day that you hate going to, that ain't living, man. You just existed. At one point in time, you ought to see what living's like. But the only way to see what living like, you gotta jump. And here's the problem. Let me just be real with you. When you first jump, let me tell you something. Your parachute will not open right away. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you it did, but it don't. When you jump, it's not going to open right away. You're gonna hit them rocks. You're gonna get some skin tore off on them cliffs. You're gonna get all your clothes tore off. You're gonna get some cuts on you. You're gonna be bleeding pretty bad. But eventually, the parachute has to open. That is a promise of God. Here's another thing. You can play it safe and deal without the cuts and the tears. And you can stand on that cliff of life forever safe. But if you don't jump, I got another promise I can make you. Your parachute will never open. You'll never know. You'll never know what God really has for you. I was speaking at a school once. I was talking to the students. The principal was mortified with my message because I was telling the truth. I was telling the kids, your education is important, But your education is not the most important thing in your life. I'm sorry, it's not. Your dream is the most important thing in this world. Principal came up on the stage while I was speaking. Don't ever say that to my school again. Well, I'm just telling you, dog. You can save your kids a lot of pain if you ever talk to them about their dreams. You got to talk to young people about their dreams. If you talk to kids about their dreams, your dreams can spur you to get the education. But if you never find out what a child is dreaming about, you can't hold their attention. It's the dream, man. You got to dream about something so big that it dwarfs all your fears. The way you overcome fear is with your dream. You got to make your dream so big that nothing matters except that dream. You're willing to do everything that's necessary. I was listening to Will Smith the other day. Will Smith said the best things in life is on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of fear. But fear freezes people, man. The fear of failure freezes people. Suppose I don't do it. Well, you might not make it. But I got news for you. If you don't do it, you damn sure ain't gonna make it. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I talk to so many people who get older, like some of us are, and they've lost their faith. Well, faith is really simple. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. All that means is in the beginning, you just hope something pop off. You know, you just kind of hope something happened for you. I was hoping I would get on TV. I wrote it on a piece of paper when I was 10, I want to be on TV. The problem I had when I wrote it at 10 was I suffered from a severe stuttering problem. I could not talk outside of my house. So can you imagine when I wrote on a piece of paper, I want to be on TV and turned that in? The first thing the little boy next to me asked me, he 10, well, how long is your TV show going to be? Because you're going to be on TV all day. But when I wrote it on the paper, it wasn't factual. It was just hoping. You just got to start with the hope. Faith is the substance of things that you hope for. You just hope something jump. Then what happened is through grace and favor, he give you a couple of them things you hope for, and then you're supposed to start believing then. Because now it turns into faith. But if you take this scripture, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Albert Einstein said that imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. That's what your imagination is. Your imagination is actually very, very real. Everything you imagine could be a preview to life's coming attraction. Everything we have today came from somebody's imagination. Somebody was talking on the phone with that cord on the wall and got sick of it and said, you know what, man, if I could just go outside and talk on the phone, ta-da, we got cell phones. Somebody got tired of driving across the country and said, man, if I could fly over there, boom, we got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's a preview to life's coming attractions. Everything you've ever imagined is real. The problem with most people is you think your imagination is hocus pocus. It's really not. It's a preview of a coming attraction. If you react to your imagination, that's where your real life is. It's just God showing you what he has for you. The problem people have is they tell their imagination to the wrong people.
See, if you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person. It's dead. How many times, man, have you had a tremendous idea? Something you thought was the one, and you went and told it to your loved ones and your so-called friends, and they shot it down. I mean, you was convinced that it was just, oh man, I just came to you. And you told it to them and they